was miserable. I mean, I was freezing cold, and I'm never doing this again. Every single one of them has suffered from the same problem.
Yep.
The first ever chest-mounted, fully self-contained, fully mobile binocular sighting system. It ends shaky bino syndrome. It ends arm fatigue.
Yeah.
You can glass literally forever. Now here's where the magic happens. We open it up. We swing the binoculars up, adjust the monopod to the height we want, slide the binoculars back into viewing position, tighten it down on the right side, and now I can view for as long as I want.
That's where most people's thought process ends. Well, Jim Ackerman,
That's me.
Stabil-Eyes.
Yep.
Just met you, let's see, today's Tuesday, so I met you 3 days ago at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo.
Yep.
And actually ran into someone else, and he says, I got a guy that you got to meet. You got to meet Jim Ackerman. He's at this booth, go find him. And I found you in the show, and
Sweet. Yep.
Here we are. So I'm
good.
excited to talk to you
Happy
about
to be here, yeah.
You know, Stabil-Eyes, your product, but your journey to getting to the product. I think that's what's really interesting to people, is how you got there. So let's just kind of start with, you know, I heard a little bit at the show talking about your experience in the outdoors, or maybe I should say lack of experience in the outdoors.
Yeah,
the way
that's a better way to put it. Yeah.
Tell me how you got into the outdoors and what brought you to Stabil-Eyes, but your kind of your childhood, your youth growing up,
sure.
Your career, and what your outdoor experience was like.
Yeah. Well, I grew up back east, northern New Jersey, about 40 miles west of New York City. And my dad was a baseball, basketball, football guy. He was not a outdoorsman. He didn't fish, he didn't hunt, he didn't do any of that. My grandfather did some of that, but he passed away when I was only about 10 years old, so I never really got too much of a chance to do anything with him. And so I was a baseball, basketball, football type guy, and that's pretty much what we did. And we were Yankee fans during the Mantle and Maris era, and
wow.
it was great. But decided to come out here when I turned 17. I came out, went to Utah State, and there's where I met my wife, and I just basically stayed out here at that, you know, that whole time.
My oldest daughter's at Utah State.
Well, good
and
for her.
My next daughter's going to Utah State.
There you go, Aggies all the way. Anyway, you know, my only experience really with camping type things was shortly after I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints back east. I got involved with their scouting program, and I went camping with the scouts, and it was a winter camp, and it was miserable. I mean, I was freezing cold, and I'm never doing this again. and I never did until I came out to Utah State, and then some buddies wanted to go down to Lake Powell for spring break. And so I went to Smith & Edwards and grabbed a Army surplus mummy bag and went down there. And it was warm, and it was wonderful, and it was great. And I had such a good time. Then I started saving up my money and buying a little bit of gear. And frankly, I bought a Jerry down sleeping bag that I still use to this day.
Wow.
That's probably 55 years later. And I still have the backpack, you know, a metal frame backpack that I really haven't used very much, but I shove it in my truck in case I actually shoot something. Somebody can wear that backpack to pack something out with it.
Bet.
So, but even with all of that, I have 9 children. 7 of them are boys. They all went through the scouting program. I never got involved with any of it. And they seem to enjoy camping and stuff, but I just, you know, for whatever reason, didn't have much of an opportunity to go along with them. And very busy with trying to run my own business and those kinds of things. And so when I was 64 years old, I decided to take up hunting.
Wow.
And my youngest son had taken up archery, and I was concerned about the state of the world, you know, afraid that the way things were going, we could easily have, you know, major problems in the supply chain and those things. And I thought,
Sure.
I ought to have a way to feed my family if I need to. And so I have some firearms, but I also thought, you know, you could run out of ammunition. And so I took up bow. And so I've become an archer and an avid archer. I really love it, and that's what started the whole thing. But I was 64 years old.
Wow.
You want me to keep going, or?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. So the idea for Stabil-Eyes came about in my very first scouting trip, the very first year I got a hunting tag.
Uh-huh.
So it was late July, early August, and I went up Lamb's Canyon because my son and his friend had shot a deer up there the previous season. And I thought, and my son thought it would be a good idea to go up there. So I went hiking up the trail up Lamb's Canyon, and I got up a little ways and was climbing up a ridge where there was a lot of scree, and I look up, and I would say maybe 400 yards away, I see an animal standing on kind of a rock outcropping. And I'm, you know, now you understand I'm an abject rookie, right?
Yeah.
But I look up there and I can't tell, is that a deer or an elk? And couldn't tell. So I pulled out a pair of binoculars that I'd bought at a local
Like
pawn
everybody
shop.
does, yep.
Right. And I put them up to my eyes and glass up there to try to figure out what that is. And I could not hold those things steady enough to determine, is that a deer or an elk? And I thought, well, what good are these things if they don't work?
Yeah,
Right?
and the further away it is, the longer you have to stare at it, and the longer you have to stare at it, the more tired your arms
it all
get,
becomes.
the harder.
And so,
Yeah.
so I
Been there, done
decided this is not good enough. There's got to be a better way. And I came home and got online, and I started looking at a variety of so-called solutions to it. There's not very many.
No.
But there were a couple, but they were awkward. You had to carry extra stuff with you.
Typically like a
you
tripod
had
or bipod. You
assemble stuff in the field. All of it added to bulk and inconvenience, and it was slow and just. So I thought, well, there's got to be something else that we can do. So I took a selfie stick, and I screwed the selfie stick into the binoculars tripod adapter port, and went back up on the mountain, and I just shoved that selfie stick in my belt, and I had the strap around for the binoculars, and I just held it down there, and I'm going, oh, this is so much better. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
So that was the genesis of the whole idea. And 5 years later, finally, Stabil-Eyes is a reality, and it's the first ever chest-mounted, fully self-contained, fully mobile binocular sighting system. It ends shaky bino syndrome. It ends arm fatigue.
Yeah.
You can glass literally forever.
That for me is the biggest thing. I'll sit there, and if I can sit low in a chair, I can maybe prop my arms and look. But finding that right position is always difficult.
And you know, it's interesting because you get up there with regular binoculars, and everybody can relate to this because binoculars were actually invented in 1825.
Wow.
So we've got 200 years of binocular use. And in that 200-year period of time, every single user of binoculars, every single one of them, has suffered from the same problem.
Yep.
Shaky bino syndrome.
Yeah.
And there's been numerous attempts to solve the problem. Several patents been issued for a variety of devices that are designed to solve the problem, but all of them have those problems that I suggested a little bit earlier. They're bulky, they require setup, they're difficult to carry, they're heavy, you got to have assembly in the field.
Yep.
and it's just not practical, right? So this is the first practical, easy to use. There's nothing to set up in the field. It's all self-contained, no extra parts to carry with you. You can deploy it and stow it as you go. But what happens to everybody else is they go up there on the mountain and they start shaking, and then instead of looking for the animals that they came to see, they're looking around for, is there a stump somewhere or a rock I can rest my elbows on, or a branch or a log, or they're sitting down and trying to do this, and
Been there,
you know,
done that.
yeah, you know, the desperate thing is grab the rim of your cap. So I don't know how that would work. Mine would come off.
Support your hands with your. Yep.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
Yeah, everybody has. But every single one of those things, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and you can't do it for very long. It's just not all that effective.
Question for you. When you had this idea, how did your wife, your family, how'd they respond to, hey, I got this idea and I want to go make the solution?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Pretty supportive overall. Now, I don't think I'd have ever tried this, except one of my sons has a company called Tobacco Motorwear.
Okay.
And he basically came up with a way to do Kevlar lined motorcycle jeans that are stylish.
Oh, cool.
And he's got a whole line and built $1 million company from scratch, getting into the motorcycle apparel thing. I have another son who invented an outdoor product. It's called the Chameleon backpack. And the reason it's called Chameleon is because it converts from backpack into a chair without ever having to empty the backpack.
Oh, cool.
So it's a unique product. You might want to talk to him at some point.
Sounds like I need to talk to both.
But I had a little bit of inspiration of all things from my sons. Instead of it going the other way around, that, hey, you could invent something. You could come up with something unique and make it attractive and marketable and those kinds of things.
Very cool.
And so I didn't get, most of my family didn't laugh at the idea. There were a couple who said, you got to be out of your mind. But my wife was pretty supportive, or at least she humored me along the way. And then I had a little share in a business that I sold to one of my sons, and that gave me a certain amount of revenue to get the whole thing started.
Capital to get you going.
Yeah, and it's taken a lot more than what that small little nest egg was all about, but it got me into the first couple of prototypes, and that and started work on patent registrations and things like that. So,
how many versions have you gone through to get to what you're at?
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I just took pictures of a whole bunch of those things to chronicle the history of it and make some videos of my own. I would say there's at least 6 different versions.
Nice.
If you count the very first couple, maybe 8 different versions that were different enough that you could say, hey, this really is a separate version of the whole thing.
What were some of the challenges as you went from version to version that you had to overcome?
It's good. That's a great question. The first thing was you had, you know, the main thing was it had to be self-contained.
Yeah.
Right. I knew that I did not want to have to assemble anything in the field.
Yeah, no assembly required.
So you had to figure out a way to connect the binoculars to the device and still fit it into a binocular harness pack that would be about the same size as any other binocular harness pack. It couldn't be, you know, if it's this big, nobody's going to wear it, right? So you really had to, we had to think about that. And the interesting part of, we figured out the solution, and the solution is part of the patent. But the trick was to, if you were to just put a normal connection, like something you would buy from like Vortex or somebody else, that's a binocular harness connector to a tripod adapter for your binoculars, you would wind up having something that was going to be really long and tall, right? Yeah. So what we came up with is what we call the slide mount. And when you bring and I'll show you this in a minute, but when you bring the binoculars up to your eyes, you slide them back to a viewing position. But when you drop them back into your pack, you slide them down, and it allows for quite
To get
several
compact.
inches of play there that allows you to actually put it into the pack and keep the pack at a reasonable size.
Very cool.
That was probably the biggest obstacle to overcome. I had a couple of other criteria, though, for it, in that I'm left-handed.
Okay.
Nobody respects the left-handed
No.
folks. It's only 10% of us.
Yep.
And so you would always find stuff that was set up for right-handed people. So when it came time to, all right, so we've got the binocular harness and it works and everything else, but there were two other features that I felt were essential features as a hunter that I absolutely needed in the product. One was a rangefinder, some way to carry my rangefinder as part of the pack. Now, a lot of hunting binocular harnesses have a rangefinder pocket,
Pouch, yeah.
but it's always on one side or the other. And of course, everybody knows this, whenever you need the rangefinder, it's on the wrong side,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted something that would be ambidextrous. So we came up with the idea of a rangefinder shelf. It's center mounted and it's accessible from either side.
Nice.
The same thing as the rangefinder, you have your wind checker, and that also needed to be ambidextrous. Most wind checkers
Especially
go
for
in a
a bow
pocket.
hunter.
Yeah, exactly. And so instead of going into a pocket, we built a sleeve, and it's got elastic on it, so it's accessible from either side.
Very cool.
Those were some of the solutions that we came up with, and frankly, I think they're kind of genius.
Let's take a look at it.
All right, yeah,
let's
I'd be
kinda
happy
dig
to do
into the
that.
product.
Sure,
And,
sure.
do a little demonstration here.
Yeah.
Of,
So as you can see, it's pretty, it's got a little bit different shape to it, but it is basically pretty similar to
like
a
a chest,
standard.
just a chest pack.
Yeah, basically your standard binocular harness chest pack. Exactly. So putting them on in a chair is
Yeah, not
a little
standing
bit,
up.
little bit different from the standard operating procedure. Yep. There we go. So as you can see,
Nice adjustable straps. And
yep, everything's right there. And as I mentioned, here's the rangefinder shelf at the bottom. Has a bungee cord to make sure it stays up. And there, the rangefinder
Very cool.
right there. Easy access again from either side.
Got
And then the wind
elastic
checker.
straps holding the shelf up.
Yep,
And
exactly. Wind checker, sleeve, accessible from either side.
I like
Okay.
that. That's cool.
Other than that, it looks pretty normal, right? Now here's where the magic happens. We open it up, we swing the binoculars up, adjust the monopod to the height we want, slide the binoculars back into viewing position, tighten it down on the right side, and now I can view for as long as I want.
Yeah, it's just right there.
It's just right there.
How cool.
And I can literally stay there for as long as I want. I can adjust if I need to look downhill, I just adjust the angle and the sight.
Yep.
And again, hands free. Same thing if I want to go uphill. I adjust the angle, tighten it down, adjust the height of the monopod, and I'm good to go. And you saw how fast that deploys.
Oh, yeah.
It's not much longer than just pulling a pair of binoculars out of your pack anyway.
And pack size universality for any kind of optics that you're carrying.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. There's no such thing as universality in the
No.
in the hunting business, right?
It's difficult.
But
difficult.
if you have any pair of binoculars that is 7 inches or less long in the barrel, it will fit.
Okay.
The width about 5 1/4, and of course that can be
Sure.
with the binocular bridge folded
adjustments, yeah.
down, right? And you can see that fits right in there like that. Typically, you can obviously do almost any pair of binoculars that is 1042 or less
Okay.
will fit in there. I've run 10 by 50s and 12 by 50s. So again, it depends on the length of the barrel.
Sure.
And some of those heavier or higher power binoculars have a little bell at the bottom of the binoculars. So you might have to put your fingers, as you're putting it away, put your fingers
tuck
in
it
there
around.
and widen it out, and it'll just go around and it's just fine.
Very cool.
So the other limiting factor is you have to have a 1/4-20 adapter
Okay.
port in order to make it work. Now we're coming up with some adapters that will allow you to still use it if you don't have a 1/4-20. But right now that's the one
of the
limiting factor.
limitations.
About 80% of all binoculars, including Zeiss, Vortex, and most of the major brands, will accommodate that 1/4-20, and like I say, about 80% of all makes and models will work. Swarovski, of course, does the Swarovski thing, and Leica is a little bit different as well. But again, we're coming up with adapters that will make those things work. So.
Nice. So how many years have you been in business since you actually had a model that you were selling?
Well, I'm kind of like you. I'm really just starting it out. I
Starting
mean,
out.
technically, the business has been an entity for a couple of years,
Uh-huh.
but we just got our first production run of 1,000 units
Okay.
back in late October, early November. So we really, the Hunt Expo is the first time that the public has been able to see the product and buy the product on the spot.
So people want to get these.
Yeah.
Now's the time. You
Now,
get in early.
now is the
and-
time. In fact, there is an introductory offer. The MSRP on this is $247,
Okay.
but right now the introductory price is $197. So you save 25% or $50.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Very cool.
Yeah.
As you've gone through this journey, what has been the one thing like your takeaway, your key takeaway, just for yourself personally? What has been like the takeaway that you're just like, man, I'm really glad I did this because?
yeah. Well, I'm kind of a spiritual individual, and all along, or through most of the process, as I was considering the kind of time investment and dollar investment that it was going to take to get this thing up and rolling, it was pretty nerve-wracking. And so I kept going to God and saying, look, if you don't want me to do this, please let me know, and I'll stop. I don't, there's nothing in my brain that says I have to do it.
Sure.
And I kept getting the answer to keep going. And at one point in time, I got a very specific message that said, this is my gift to you. I did raise 9 children.
Yeah.
And I've got my 40th grandchild on the way. And, I don't know what the final outcome of this is going to be. I don't know if I'm
Sure.
going to make a ton of money at it or even a little bit of money at it.
Sure.
But through the course of the entire process, I feel like I've been guided by the Spirit, and I have learned a lot, even if it's not successful. I've learned a lot about becoming the person I need to become. It's not all about the money.
Yeah.
I mean, some money would be nice.
Yeah. Of course.
But really, that's another message I got, is this is about you becoming who you need to become.
You're achieving a reward through the journey.
Yes.
That to
It's
a degree
the journey,
is,
not the destination,
yeah.
as they say.
yeah, more important than
Yeah.
and even just how you got here. I mean,
Yeah.
who
Who takes up hunting at age 64
I was about to say, who in their right mind
and then does it
you
with
know?
a bow?
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty ambitious in and of itself. And then to take on this new chapter, I would say, in your life
Yeah.
of going hunting and novice figuring it out, and I'm right off the bat saying, I have this problem.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have an idea how to solve this problem. And if I have this problem, other people have this problem too.
Right.
And I can do something about it. And then just doing it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, they'll just hit the point of, I have this problem and I have a great idea, but I don't know how to do it, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
That's where most people's thought process ends.
Right.
And you take this and nothing was in the way of it. And in fact, you had people around you to encourage you. And I think you find
Yeah.
a lot of times in life, you find that it's the people around you that really help you get where you're wanting to go, the support of those people. And
Right. Right.
I think I need to talk to your boys, because even the motorcycle pants, that's an outdoor brand in my
Yeah.
opinion. That's
Yeah.
people recreating in the outdoors, and a lot of people love to go ride motorcycles.
Absolutely.
It's that's perfect. How I'd love to know how he came to be
Yeah.
that, but having those people to support you, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it really has been a really good journey that way. I've had obviously the support of my family, but I'll be honest with you. When people see it, they go, wow.
Yeah.
There's a big wow factor there, right?
Well, I think people can relate to it, right?
Well, sure.
Like me, when I met you at the show, I said the same thing. My arms have been there shaking
That's
and
right.
trying to see something at a long distance, and I'm sitting here trying to tuck them in and trying to find a way that my arm fatigue just goes away, right?
Yeah.
I can relate directly to it. My experience confirms that there's a product that I
Yeah.
need, because it is that difficult to do, and
Right.
it's just really cool that you just took it from, I've got this problem, I'm going to solve this problem, and I'll solve it for not just me, but for a lot of people.
Little bit of inspiration. I don't think it was all me, but
sure.
but yeah, I feel like it came out of nowhere, and so I do think it was a gift, and people see it and they really like the idea. I had several people come up to to me at the show and say, "This is the coolest thing I've seen at the entire show.
I can
This
tell
is
you,
the best innovation."
I go to the Hunt Expo to look for innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been years I've come away disappointed because there really wasn't any innovation.
Right.
Everybody just repackaged the same old thing, right? In a lot of those.
Exactly.
And I go to look for what's new, what's novice, what is revolutionary, what changes the game, you know? And it was.
This is a game changer.
It is.
The one thing that kept coming up at the show when anybody would actually try it, right? So I'd offer people the opportunity to actually put it on and try it. And the standard reaction that I would get was, "Oh, this is better than I thought it would be."
Yeah.
And it really is,
Yeah.
So.
And for a lot of people, that's what it is that seeing is believing, but trying is
Exactly.
confirmation.
Exactly.
Very cool. So I want to talk about your family just a little bit. You have 9 kids, 40 grandkids. In all of that and raising the kids, you talked about scouts and not really being involved as much there, but now as you are getting involved, what kind of is your outdoor activity with your kids and grandkids?
Well, we typically try to plan not an annual, but every other year family camp out. And then, the kids are busy. They're raising families of their own. It's difficult to get them together, but we do that. We typically will go every other year on a family camp out, and they'll come in from all over. We've had them living in California and living on the East Coast. And for that event, they'll come in every couple of years, and we'll have a nice family camp out. I'm old enough now at 71 where my wife doesn't want me to go solo hunting anymore.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is say, "Okay, guys, here's the week I'm going hunting. And here's where I'm going. And you guys work it out amongst yourselves to determine, who's going to babysit me on which nights," kind of a thing. And we've been doing that for a couple of years, and sometimes it's pretty successful, and sometimes it's not. There's only 2 of my boys that are into hunting themselves.
Okay.
And so it makes it a little skinny. They all enjoy the outdoors. They don't mind camping. They like the idea of actually going out with and this is where I'm at. And this is why I got so passionate about it. I got out there up in the mountains, and I've loved the mountains anyway all my life. And I just got up there, and I just so enjoyed being out there and being, it's the opposite of everything down here.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what it is for
There's
me,
hustle
too.
and bustle and noise and energy, and everybody's,
Draining.
flying around.
It's draining.
It's draining. And you get up there, and the effort you make is the effort to be quiet.
Yeah.
And listen and look and feel. And it's different from just hiking, right? When you're hunting, you're there with a purpose, but your senses are heightened.
Yeah.
And you're
especially archery.
Exactly. And I've sat I've sat 10 yards off of a trail, looking at a group of deer, maybe 10-headed deer, and along comes hikers. And they're yakety, yakety, and they go right by me. They never know I'm there.
You were there.
They never know the deer are there.
Yep.
And it's just, the hunting experience is entirely different. Now, 3 years into my hunting experience, I shot an elk. And it was a cow elk, and it was a small cow elk. But I got on the board. And I've got to tell you, that was a cathartic experience. That was a life-changing experience.
I was going to ask for your first one.
Yeah, and again, it's a spiritual experience. I don't know what it's like to shoot an animal with a gun at 300 yards. I don't know what that's like. But I do know what it's like to shoot an animal with a bow at about 30 yards. And what it takes to get that close. And knowing what you're doing, you know, with that bow, and letting that thing release, and seeing that animal drop and fall and die. And you know, there's the old stories of the Native Americans who would thank the animal for its sacrifice. Mm-hmm. I felt that. Yeah.
It's a reverence and a respect for what God put on this earth for us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that.
And you can tell, I can still feel it.
Yeah.
3 years later, right?
I mean, I don't go so far as to eat the heart, but you know, I'm not taking.
It's supposed to be pretty good. I'm next one I get, I'm gonna keep it.
I've tried to cook it, and I haven't been able to figure out how to cook it right to get it good. But yeah, for me, it's, you know, I have an absolute love and adoration for the animals out in
absolutely
nature, and what God's given us, and what He's provided for us, and that brings on a level of respect.
Yeah,
and that's what you get
that
when
respect,
you're out there
there's
too.
A sense of gratitude that is
absolutely,
you know, that people just don't understand. You know, and you know, I've had relatives of mine back east call me a barbarian for hunting. You know, you know, and I'm going, do you eat meat? Yeah. Well, some animal died somewhere for that. You know. And
in this instance, you know, that animal lived a good, purposeful life, and ended in a very fine manner, right? A very peaceful, tranquil way.
And you know, if you don't mind me waxing a little bit religious, you know, there are people in the scriptures who were hunters.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And when you think all the way back to Adam and Eve, Heavenly Father said, we will make coats of skins for a covering for them.
Yeah. And it came from an animal.
Had to come from an animal.
There's a purpose, and God has a purpose for everything He put on this earth.
Yeah.
Very cool. I was curious what your first harvest was.
Well, that was actually my second harvest.
Okay.
My first
your
harvest.
First elk, though.
Yeah, it was my first big game animal.
Okay.
In the first year that I hunted, I think it was the first year that I hunted, my son and I were up by Manaway, and we're both there. He had a compound bow. I had a recurve at the time. That's all I had. And we're walking down the trail, and we don't get 100 yards in on our very first trip together. And so this was the first year, and we see this grouse.
Yep.
And so he's out ahead of me 10 or 15 yards, and I said, well, go ahead, shoot it. Well, he shoots and misses. But the grouse didn't go anywhere.
Uh-huh.
So now it's my turn. And I shoot and I miss, but the grouse didn't go anywhere. And then he takes his turn and he shoots, and his arrow hits a branch and goes flying up all over the place. It was like Keystone Cops, you know, it was really ridiculous. But I finally got my second shot, and I got the bird on the second shot. So
very cool.
My first kill was actually a grouse.
And you only lost 3 arrows to get it.
Yeah. Fortunately, my arrows were landing low, and I was able to find both of mine. I think he found one, but we only lost one between the two of us.
Very cool.
If I remember right. But that was...
And anybody that's ever hunted in Utah, grouse are there.
Yeah.
They are there.
Yeah.
And anybody who's ever been walking through the woods, listening intently and really tuned in,
Yep.
has been scared witless
Yep.
by a grouse that
Yep.
came up out of their
Yep.
feet and just...
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So,
very fun.
Yeah, lots of fun, and again, you know, you wind up with a great appreciation for all that's been, you know, placed before us
Yeah.
in terms of the beauty of the world around us and the majesty of the animals and yeah, it's just now it's in the blood, you know.
Yeah, very cool.
Even at
Yeah, you
64
catch a
years
virus,
old, you
don't
get a
you?
virus. Yeah,
Yeah.
you really do.
So I got to ask, as a bow hunter, you got this chest pack on you. Have you shot a lot with that there?
Oh, yeah.
And how do you feel it? You know, people that would be interested in that. How do you feel
I
that
appreciate
you interact with that?
I appreciate that question. No problem whatsoever. I've not only have I shot the two animals that well, I've actually gotten another grouse since then, but not only did I shoot them, but I go to the Total Archery Challenge every year. So I'm shooting uphill, downhill, short distances, long distances. The Stabil-Eyes does not get in the way at all.
Very
It's,
cool.
it's just like having a regular binocular harness on. It is a little bit wider, but not so much so that it interferes at all with the shot. I shoot a 34-inch.
Yeah, you got pretty long arms.
Well, no, that's not my draw length. It's the 34 inches is from cam to cam on the bow. My draw length's only 28.
Oh, okay.
But I shot that recurve, you know, and that's a 60-some inch long, you know, from limb to limb, and yeah, just no problem at all.
Not getting in the way of your draw. And I can imagine with a rifle, I mean,
And
your
my
shoulder's completely clear, so there's
right,
no issue
right.
there.
In fact, my guy I go hunting with, we were down in the Nebo unit. He has a dedicated hunter tag down there, so after the archery season was over, we went down during the rifle season looking for deer. Well, we didn't find the deer, but he did spot with Stabil-Eyes a coyote at 658 yards. And I would suggest to you that a coyote in brush would be pretty hard to even see if you're hand holding.
And stay on.
Exactly.
You might get a glimpse, but to
Right.
stay on, yeah.
And so he spotted the coyote at 658 yards, and he pulled out his rifle and shot it at 658 yards.
Nice.
So
if people want to find Stabil-Eyes, where do they look?
now you've got several options. Number one, here in the Salt Lake City area, you can go to the Badass Outdoor Gear shop,
Okay.
and they're carrying the product. Otherwise, you can get it online at one of two addresses, one of three addresses actually. One is stabilized.com, that's stabil-eyes.com. But people will have trouble remembering that spelling, right? So they could also go to steadymybinos.com.
Okay.
steadymybinos.com. Or I've got a site called falconviewoutdoors.com, and you can find it there along with a variety of other products that I am basically an affiliate for, like the chameleon backpack
yeah.
chair from Trail Form. There's another product there called the Bow Spider. There's the Axle hearing aid, hearing protection / enhancement devices. And then there's something called Pure Trek, which is a trekking pole that also has a built-in water filter.
I've seen those, yeah.
There's some of these things that are unique, and that's the idea of, I call it visionary outdoor innovations. And I'm trying to put only a very highly curated collection of products on there that, you know, you don't find anywhere else.
Very
or very
cool.
few other places.
Very cool. Well, I've appreciated your time today.
My pleasure.
I knew just talking to you, actually when I walked up to you at the expo and you were in the middle of giving a spiel to potential customers, I could just tell that we were going to enjoy each other, just personality wise.
Absolutely.
I knew. And so I'm glad that you had time for me, and really appreciate you going through your history, how you got to Stabil-Eyes. I think that's what's interesting to our viewers is you know, you as a person, Jim Ackerman, you know,
Thank you.
Who is Jim Ackerman? How did Jim Ackerman come up with Stabil-Eyes? What got him there?
He's just some Yankee fan from New Jersey who finally got it right.
And quite honestly, I think everybody can relate that's been in the outdoors, that's used binos. I think everybody can relate to your story.
Appreciate that.
And I think everybody can be jealous that they never went through with solving the problem. Solving the problem that we've all experienced.
Yeah.
And you went through with it. So I think for that, I think we're all grateful.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing your success and promoting you to the Campfire Stories audience, and really appreciate you taking the time. And
Terrific.
Jim Ackerman.
My pleasure.
Stabil-Eyes.
All right.
Very, very cool. Thank you.